I am Nick Shell.
And I am Mario Garcia.
And together we are
Jeep Hombres.
So in general, here's a lot of what my channel is about. 7.2 thousand subscribers. Most of you being male. Most of you being much younger than me. Even younger, you're 27?
Yep.
Most of you younger than Mario. And when you're a younger man who has experienced less in life, you fall into this fallacy, this delusion that your self-worth, your identity, your attractiveness is based on your looks. And it's simply not true. It may be somewhat true when you're in high school. You get out of high school, no one tells you, hey, it's less about your looks now, and instead it's about all these other things. You know, like being confident, or at least acting confident. You ever watch Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee on Netflix? Jerry Seinfeld? You have Netflix, right?
I do, yeah.
Okay, so that's your new show to be addicted on?
Okay.
Because he just drives all these classic cars.
Yeah.
And then has guest stars on there.
Huh,
so there's
okay.
one with Steve Martin, and Steve Martin, when he was 26, starting his stand-up comedy, he wanted to play this character that was just like so confident.
Yeah.
He's like, but I wasn't a confident guy. I was just figuring out what to do. Mm-hmm. He said, so I decided to fake it, and I made this character, this guy that's super confident, and everybody bought it, even though I wasn't confident. So what's funny is we are judged so harshly based on how confident we are.
Yeah.
Even if we're not really confident, people can't tell the difference.
Yeah.
So that's one of the many things. But so anyway, when you're young, you tend to think you're attractive based on your looks. When it's all these other things. And I want to talk about Jeeps, because this is Jeep Hombre video. I think what a lot of people don't realize is chicks dig the Jeep Wranglers. They do. I'll tell you, hey, here's a perfect story to really put this in perspective. I've been married almost 11 years. When I was getting my Jeep, this is Mario's, but mine's the black one. When I was getting my Jeep, my wife, she was joking when she said this, of course, but she said, okay, you might have girls looking at you and talking to you and all this stuff now that you got the Jeep, but you gotta shoo them away. And it was just funny because it's like, and I've said before, and I'm not ashamed of this, I've said this before, when my wife and I first met, when I saw her across the room, I went over to her because of how beautiful she was in a room of 500 people, and I saw them on the other side, okay? She didn't even think of me as an attractive guy until I asked her out. She thought I was a fun guy, but when I asked her out, suddenly I became attractive because then I expressed interest in her.
Yeah.
But again, when you're younger, it's easier to think that, you have to look a certain way. You have to especially look young enough or whatever for girls to be attracted. But I'm telling you, chicks dig the Jeep Wrangler. And my wife even knew that. She wasn't like, hey, you're such a handsome guy, you better watch out for girls. You know, no. She's like, she said that when I got the Jeep.
Yeah.
And I have realized since then, even though it was just a joke, I've realized since then, just like even around the office, when people found out I was getting a Jeep, like it's funny how attractive of a concept that is. I mean, yeah, the guys are like, oh, why did I get a Jeep? But even the females are like, wow, that's such a cool, like you don't often hear that. I'll put it this way, if you're gonna go around saying, all right, I'm picking up my new car this weekend, I'm getting and then you say, whatever car it is that you're getting, it's hard to impress someone in that way without seeming pretentious. Like, hey, I'm getting a Mustang. It's gonna be awesome. You already seem like you're, I don't know, like trying to make up for your lack of identity.
Yeah.
But it doesn't happen that way with Jeeps.
Right.
Like, have you noticed that?
Yeah. I mean, when I first got my Jeep, the family that sold it to me, they were like, all right, man, you're young, you're good looking, get ready to have a lot of girls like start to notice you and take interest in you or want to take a ride in your Jeep. And that's just something that happened, you know, it was just kind of really funny. And then like friends that I have, they always want to take the Jeep, or the girls, they always want to take the Jeep. And something about having a friend that has a Jeep and then driving with them in the Jeep is something that you know, it's just kind of cool.
Well, because it's built-in entertainment already.
Right.
Because
exactly.
It's like, not everybody, there's a lot of Jeeps in the road, especially in Nashville where we are, but still it's not, if you don't own one or at least know somebody, like you can't experience the fun. Because when you drive a Jeep, it's completely different than any other vehicle you could drive.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's its own entertainment.
Yep. And they always ask, can we take the doors off? Can we take the top off? It's just fun. It's cool. But yeah, I would say it's a chick magnet for sure.
And I'd say more so than a sports car, for sure. And I know if you've watched more than one of these videos now, I keep like bashing sports cars. But it's funny because like I've never been into sports cars, honestly. Like my first car actually, well, it was funny. My first car was an 83 BMW.
Oh, okay.
That I got for like $1,200 when I was 15. And then the moonroof cable broke and then I had to sell it. So I didn't have it very long. But then my dad, who rebuilds cars, wanted me to get like a Mustang.
Yeah.
But I wanted a Bronco too. And you know, that's like if you're in 1997 and you're turning 16, back in that day.
Yeah.
And Jeep was out of the question point, so it was like a Bronco 2, which we made a video about that. What's comparable to a Jeep Wrangler?
Oh yeah.
Well, it only lasted, from 1984, I think, to 1990. They only made them like 6 years.
Yeah.
They were really bad about rolling over. But, and then of course I had my Honda Element, that was less about, but still it was more about that. But it was all in the likeness of the Jeep. Yeah. So it's understated how it, oh yeah, like Kenny, you don't listen to country music though, right?
Kenny G.
Well,
I do.
I was about to say Kenny Chesney.
Oh, Kenny Chesney. Well, no, I do listen to country.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
I like Brad Paisley and Lee Brice, Zach Brown Band.
Okay.
Yeah, so I do Kenny Chesney.
Okay, because that's where I was going with this.
Oh, okay.
My wife is like the biggest country music fan, which is funny because she's from Northern California in Sacramento.
Oh, okay.
You wouldn't necessarily think of a country music fan from Northern California,
no,
but she totally is. So just by default, I hear country music a lot. And anyway, old song, but Kenny Chesney song, She Thinks My Tractor's Sexy.
Oh yeah.
So, you know, that came out a long time ago and it seems like a silly song, but it's not. Because it's like, females will find a car, it actually makes you more attractive. Now, we're not talking about tractors, of course, we're talking about Jeep Wranglers. But a Jeep Wrangler is it's like a universal unspoken code.
Yeah.
So, there you go. So I guess what I'm saying is, forget about your looks. Do the best with what you have there. But if you can get a Jeep Wrangler, even if you get an old one, like with 200,000 miles on it, it's still a Jeep Wrangler.
Yeah.
If it drives, then I would say you're still better off getting that, because that is still more of an attractive car than most other cars you can still afford when you're still young.
Yeah.
So
agreed.
I can't think of a better chick magnet than a Jeep Wrangler. But most people don't think that because they go back to those pretentious cars.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, a truck would have some of that concept too, but even then, this is too universally awesome.
And just some memories that you can make from it, right? I think like going cruising down the Natchez Trace in the evening time, sun setting, doors off, top off.
Yeah.
It's just beautiful. Playing music, just enjoying the time, going up, finding a field. And this totally sounds like a country song now, but finding a field where you could just kind of go off-road a little bit, find a nice open spot, watch the sunset, spend time, hang out, that sort of thing. It's like, girls really like that kind of thing, you know? And so
plan a picnic. Hey, true story. So granted, this story takes place in my Honda Element, but the first date my wife and I ever went on, we're both, and always have been, huge John Mayer fans. And so we're in Nashville. He was playing in Huntsville, which was about, I guess, an hour and a half away. This was my first date with my wife. And it was to, obviously make sure that I make a great first impression. So I went to like Lenny's Subs and got us sandwiches, and I knew she liked Twizzlers. I got her some Twizzlers, and I packed it in a picnic basket, put it in the back. And when we got to the parking lot of the concert, before the concert started, it was time for dinner, and we just sat in the back and we had a picnic back there.
Yeah.
It's like, that is such an awesome date idea. So man, if you got a Jeep and you can take her on a ride up, even just through a park, like a state, like here in Nashville, that's what, for Mother's Day.
Yeah.
I took my wife and our kids out there on a Percy Warner. You ever been out there?
Yeah.
Great place to drive a Jeep. Great place to have a picnic. They have picnic tables everywhere. Chicks dig Jeep Wranglers. Chicks dig picnics. Chicks dig just driving in, if you can take out the doors of the roof.
Yep.
And it doesn't even have to be the destination. It's just the fact that you're going to do that. That is, like I said, memories that are not necessarily easily obtainable
Yeah.
unless you are that source.
Yep.
There you go. I think we made our case here. I don't think anybody can disagree with us.
Yeah,
right?
I agree.
So basically what we've just done, we've made a comment, or we've made a video that's gonna get 0 dislikes and 100 likes, because that's how universally right we are on this one. There's
100%.
there's not one phrase we said in this whole thing that was wrong.
Yeah.
We got this. But so here's the comments, and you're only gonna leave comments that praise our wisdom. There will be no negative comments. This is the first video on my channel where I'll get no negativity at all.
First time for everything.
And yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Probably the only time too. Right here.